Hey, what's up, guys? I'm gonna be ripping some Underdog drafts today. I'm gonna start with a BBM that might rip some puppies, something like that after. So let me just share the screen. And it should be good to go. All right, there we go. Uh, all right, should be good to go now. All right, cool. So I'm gonna hop in the 20-second BBM. All right, let's see. Waiting for 8, so might be a minute. Um, all right. I'm gonna just go over my exposures and stuff. You guys can kind of see like what I've been doing so far and everything. Um, so this is for all my drafts so far after the NFL draft. So I got quite a bit of volume in. I have 130 teams so far. Um, so at QB, I've been kind of leaning more towards the quarterbacks with like rushing upside. The Justin Fields, Jalen Hurts, Kyler Murray. I think Jalen Hurts especially. He's a really good value this year, like going in the 5th round, where I think he has the upside to really go right alongside the top 4 guys at QB, top 3 guys at QB. So I think he's a decent value going in that 5th round, especially with him falling sometimes near the middle end of the 5th. I think he can be, a really good value there. Uh, Kyler Murray, kind of same thing. I think he's a decent value. You hope the rushing steps up. He can be a pretty good value overall where he goes. Fields, he's a little bit more risky, but I think his rushing upside gives him, insane ceiling. Um, Bryce Young, kind of hoping for the 2nd-year breakout or 3rd-year breakout. The rushing upside, I think with him and Drake May is there for both of them, kind of both of them to take the leap up to the next level. They both showed some promise at the end of last year. Dak Prescott, I think without any injuries and hopefully the offense improves as a whole, getting Pickens, I think he could, kind of be what he was 2 years ago in the passing game and really outperform like what people expect of him. Um, Brock Purdy, I really like the San Francisco offense setup as a whole. I think they have, a lot of weapons, real good offense overall. Obviously, a pretty easy schedule, like projected at least. So I think he could have a pretty good season. Cam Ward, real cheap price for the number 1 overall pick. I think where he goes in drafts, he's a pretty good value. And then kind of these guys at the bottom have more of an average amount, but I like all these guys. I think they're all in offenses that I think Herbert and Love are in offenses that could improve. And Josh Allen, obviously, he's just one of the elite QBs, high touchdown upside, high rushing upside. Geno, I think on Vegas, he could be pretty good. I like to pick a lot of Brock Bowers, so I obviously pair Geno with that quite a bit. Let's see, a running back. So I got a lot of Tootin because he's kind of my bet right now to take over that backfield in Jacksonville, and I don't know. I think I could see kind of slowing down on him as the summer progresses. But if he does get good speak in camp, he looks good in camp, it looks like he might take over. I could see him steaming way up the board. So I kind of want to get a big bag of him early. And then, maybe that's a little bit of a bad decision, but I'll still have time to kind of pull back if it is. And if not, then I think it's good to get a bag of a guy like that kind of early because he's going to have a role. It's just how big will the role be? And then kind of my next three are just all contingent upside bets, just, I don't know. I think there are guys who are very likely to be the clear number two if the starter goes down. They're probably likely to get a bigger part of the workload. So that's why I kind of like those guys, but they're more just contingent upside bets. Quinshawn, I really like him just as far as the competition in his backfield goes. I'm going to check on the draft real quick. 11 to 12, okay, cool. So I'll finish going through it real quick then. So Quinshawn, I really like him. Think he has quite a bit of upside as far as the taking over the role in that backfield. All they really had for an incumbent was Jerome Ford, and they did draft Dylan Sampson, but Quinshawn got really good draft capital, obviously. And then as far as the other guys, Dobbins, kind of just hoping he signs somewhere. That is quite a bit of Dobbins without him being signed. I'll probably slow down him a little. Tajay, same thing, good contingent bet. Rashad White, a good guy who can kind of fill in, just week to week, he'll have a role in that offense, everything. DJ Giddens, decent contingent bet where he goes, but he's a little bit more risky, but he is going, near the last round of the draft. And he does have decent upside, but his role is definitely less secure as the main backup with Khalil Herbert there. So I'm going to think my draft's starting. All right, cool. So I got the number 3 pick. So, no. All right, so at number 3, I'm probably either going Jefferson or Lamb here. I'm not too much of a fan of Barkley where he goes. I just think, given his workload and his age and the Eagles' rushing attempts last year, I don't have too much Jefferson. I'll grab Jefferson. Jefferson and Lamb are kind of a coin flip to me. But with Barkley, I think just with his workload and his age, I don't think he's going to be a bust or anything like that. But I could just see him slowing down a little, maybe not quite repeating last year. Where a guy like Jahmyr Gibbs, I could see him actually, still improving. He's such a young player. And even Bijan, too, if the whole offense improves around him. I could see those guys really improving. Where, Barkley, I feel like we've kind of seen the ceiling of what he can be. 1 second. All right. Yeah, so I'm kind of ranking it basically like Jamar Chase, Jefferson, Lamb, or Lamb, Jefferson. Kind of just depends on the draft. I already have quite a bit of Lamb, so I decided to grab Jefferson in this one. But I think Jahmyr Gibbs or maybe even Bijan I would take over Barkley. I think Bijan and Barkley would be kind of a coin flip. To me, Jahmyr Gibbs is the 101 running back. Just because even with Montgomery healthy, he's still putting up points similar to these guys. And if Montgomery goes down, he's clearly the number 1 running back in the NFL, to me at least. His points per game and everything, I don't really think there's a running back who can come close to matching him. Let's see what's going on here. Sorry. So CeeDee Lamb, Puka, Nico, Monrod, Neighbors, Brian Thomas, Ashton Genty, McCaffrey, Drake London. So pretty normal overall. A little bit of a fall for Ashton Genty. Usually I see him go more around maybe 9-10. That's a pretty interesting start though to go double running back. I mean, I like it. Just when you go double running back in the first 2 rounds, you got to make sure you don't fall too far behind the 8 ball at wide receiver. It can be kind of a risk to take that much running back capital that early. So I'm about back on the clock here. So Derrick Henry, Brock Bowers, Ladd McConkey, A.J. Brown, Achane. Okay, so they go T. Higgins. So I'm probably leaning Jonathan Taylor here. Yeah, I think I'll go Jonathan Taylor here. I think Jonathan Taylor, he could have a real bounce back season. Like you look at how he ended the year last year, he had a great like end of the year. I mean, he was one of the guys you needed. He was killer at the end of the year. So I could really see him having a big bounce back season. Hopefully the offense improves overall slightly. We don't really we can't really be sure just because the quarterbacking situation still isn't fully figured out. But I could definitely see Jonathan Taylor improving this year compared to last year, and especially if he stays healthy. I mean, he'll be the clear bell cow in that backfield. Even though they did get Giddens, when Jonathan Taylor's been healthy, he's seen over 90% of the snaps very consistently. Okay, so Trey McBride in the third round. Yeah, I'll take Trey McBride. That's good. Um, so yeah, Jonathan Taylor. I think him and Jacobs, they're pretty similar, but I think Jonathan Taylor gives you upside where he could match almost any running back in the league in points. Like maybe he's a little bit behind where these top three guys could be, but I think if he's fully healthy, taking the full workload, like I could easily see him being, I mean, easily top five, but I could see him being top three running back in the league pretty easily. And then as far as Trey McBride, I'm a big fan of him and Bowers. I think Trey McBride, just the touchdowns like from last year, he wasn't very fortunate with the touchdowns, but if he has a better year as far as touchdowns go and he gets a similar target share, I mean, there's no doubt him and Bowers should separate from the position. I mean, Trey McBride last year, I believe he had like almost 140 targets or around 140 targets. Let's see. So he had 147 targets, 1,146 yards, only 2 touchdowns though. So if he gets more in that even 8 to 10 touchdown range, then I think he could be a clear separator at the position. I think he could really separate himself as far him and Brock Bowers just with the target shares that they get. I think those two guys could clearly separate from the field at tight end and give you, a huge advantage at that position. And then by taking him early, it kind of allows me to not spend capital at the position again until much later in the draft. Or maybe I could pick a mid-round guy and just stop at 2. But I think him and Bowers, they're just a level above all the other tight ends. All right, so let me go back to this. So let me pull up my player combos actually. So, like for example, with let's see, Jonathan Taylor. So I only have one Jonathan Taylor Trey McBride team. And I don't have any Jonathan Taylor, Justin Jefferson team. So that's pretty unique for me build-wise. I feel like I don't get Jonathan Taylor too much. He, I don't know, he always seems to go before my pick quite a bit. So I think here, I'd be between Metcalf and Smith. I think I'm going to go Metcalf because I don't really want to get hurt since I already got an elite tight end and a running back. I don't really want to get an elite QB this early just because that's a lot of capital not at receiver so early, especially with taking 2 like detours away from wide receiver. I think I want to lean more towards going double receiver at this turn. Because I think the risk is like if I would have went Smith and then let's say I got Hurts there, so I'm gonna grab Jameson. He actually goes with my Justin Jefferson for week 17 also, so that works out pretty good. I was kind of thinking about Calvin Ridley. I'm a big fan of Calvin Ridley this year. But yeah, I think with spending these 2 picks at running back and tight end, it's good to build up your wide receiver firepower after that because because you don't want to be lacking at wide receiver. If I go, let's say I went Smith there and then Hurts was still available, right? So I go Hurts, then I only have Jefferson and Smith, and I'm not getting another receiver till pick 70. And then I'm kind of trying to play catch up, so I'm kind of boxed in. So, like, if a good running back value falls to me there or something, falls to me there, I'm kind of boxed in to take receiver, where this gives me a lot more flexibility in my build. I can kind of go anything except tight end at pick 70 would be a viable pick. Where if I went like Smith Hurts, then I have to get wide receiver most likely. Um, so I kind of like doing it that way. I think it gives you more flexibility in your build, and I think where I took Taylor, like if T Higgins was available, that would have been a debate. But I think the receivers, there's kind of a tier break after T Higgins goes, so I don't think that would have been worthwhile to grab. Like, I wouldn't have grabbed Tyreek Hill, but maybe like Garrett Wilson, Rashee Rice probably would have been my top receivers. Maybe like Terry McLaurin, I guess. But I think running back there was the best pick, just given like the wide receiver cliff kind of hit where I wouldn't want to really take one till that like third round pick maybe. Um, I think Jonathan Taylor, he's like a tier above those guys just as far as like level of player. Um, and then with Trey McBride, I mean that's a pretty good value on Trey McBride. I'm a big fan of him in general, so it kind of makes sense to me to like, scoop up a little bit of the value there picking him. And then with my last two picks, DK, I think DK could have a pretty good year just as far as like soaking up the target volume in Pittsburgh. I'm not really a big fan of the Pittsburgh offense. Kind of just hoping like Aaron Rodgers signs, because I mean, I don't know, if Aaron Rodgers doesn't sign, it is a little bit scary that they could be a really poor offense. But if Aaron Rodgers signs, then I think they could be an okay offense. They'll probably have really low pace of play, which is unfortunate for him, but I think DK Metcalf will be the clear like target hog. So at least he should have a good target volume relative to like the team attempts and everything like that. Um Jameson, I like him, just, super high powered offense. He has a decent role on that offense. He's explosive. He can score you a 60-yard touchdown. One touch, he can hit your lineup. And then he also correlates week 17 with my Justin Jefferson, which I like to, I kind of do that as a tiebreaker because, like I said, I was considering Ridley. Okay, so here, so I think I'm going to go Jerry Jeudy, and then I'm hoping one of these three running backs will fall back to me. Because I think Judy's a little bit above these other receivers, and I'm hopeful to get one of these three running backs. And I'm pretty much fine with any of the three. James Conner, David Montgomery, they're pretty similar bets to me. I mean, James Conner obviously is getting a better workload, but I think that Detroit offense is just like, I think they're the best offense in the league, or if not, right up there. So I'm going to grab David Montgomery here. And yeah, bye week's all good. Okay, so yeah, there I went Jerry Jeudy, David Montgomery, and then David Montgomery and Jameson Williams. Obviously, that's all correlated up, so that works out pretty good. Like, if the Detroit offense is still one of the better ones in the league, I have two pieces on that offense who should be good contributors. High touchdown upside for the offense as a whole. David Montgomery, they use him a lot on the goal line, short yardage, which in general is not as ideal to have kind of the more short yardage back, but with such a high powered offense that can give him like huge touchdown upside. Like he could even get, I mean, if he's healthy all year, to see him hit 14, 15 touchdowns wouldn't be very surprising at all. And then Jerry Jeudy, he's kind of the same like bet, kind of like DK Metcalf, where we're just kind of unsure on the QB situation, probably more of a run heavy team overall. Although the Browns are kind of like just not as good in general, so maybe it'll be in a little bit more pass heavy scripts. But DK Metcalf and Jerry Jeudy, they should both be the clear target dominant player on their teams. And then so, that should give them upside just in the sense of they might get double digit targets in quite a few games this year. Even if their offenses are maybe not like quite as high performing. So I think with that overall, I feel pretty good getting starts like this where I kind of have my like big workhorse running back. I have an elite receiver, elite tight end. I have three receivers that I feel pretty good about. You know, Jerry Judy, DK Metcalf, Jefferson should all be getting very consistent targets every week. Jameson's maybe a little bit less inconsistent, but he really gives me that ceiling that maybe a guy like, I mean, Jerry Judy I guess does have ceiling, but Jameson Williams will maybe access that ceiling a little bit more often than a guy like Jerry Judy or DK given their offenses. Um, and then I got like David Montgomery, who's a guy that should consistently be getting touchdowns, or not touchdowns, but touches in a very good offense. So I think, you know, he gives me good upside with his touchdowns, but he also gives me a good floor just by getting consistent touches in a very good offensive line. So I feel pretty good with this build to start overall. I'm probably gonna target. I mean, I'm open to targeting like Kyler, JJ McCarthy later, or Jared Goff, obviously, because I have the double. That's the only downside. Other downside with Judy and Metcalf too is like you don't really feel comfortable targeting a quarterback for them, so it does limit your options at QB a little bit more, which is, you know, a downside of taking those guys. So right here, I'm probably thinking I'm gonna grab a wide receiver, and then I might. Is is Kyler Murray gone? Oh, Kyler Murray's already gone. Okay. Um, I could grab Justin Fields. Well, I can probably grab a wide receiver first. So let's grab Luther Burden. Yeah, because I think I can go for more upside kind of with this play at receiver. I have pretty good wide receiver depth already. And then I think I'm actually going to reach just a little and take Justin Fields. I guess not too much. He's ADP 104. But I'm going to take Justin Fields here if he's available, because I'm kind of running out of stacking partners, and I really like the rushing floor he provides, and you know that also gives him ceiling. Okay, so Justin Fields here, and I'm gonna look and see where Kyler went. Kyler went at 87 with Marvin Harrison. Yeah, that adds up. Uh, but I mean, obviously, I was hoping for Kyler, but you know, even without him, I feel pretty good overall with the with getting Justin Fields, even though he's not stacked. I think his rushing floor and ceiling he just rushes so much that you don't really need a stack with Justin Fields. I might try to tack on a guy like a Mason Taylor later, like the rookie tight end on the Jets. Maybe get like Braylon Allen later, give me some more correlation with the Jets. That wouldn't be a bad idea if it, you know, falls the right way. But I think with him, you don't even need to do that if you don't want to, because he's a guy, I mean, he could have 100 rushing yards in a game, and he could get more points from his rushing than his passing in a game and still give you a good ceiling game. So I think he's a guy that, you know, you don't really need a stack with him. And then, oh yeah, Luther Burden. I think he's just a guy that gives you he gives you huge upside, especially later in the year. That Ben Johnson offense, Caleb Williams at QB. You know, I think Caleb Williams could take the next step this year. That wouldn't surprise me too much. I think Luther Burden, he can give you really big upside near the end of the year. Maybe even at the beginning, he does more than we think. You know, Ben Johnson's really good at scheming guys open, all that. Like, Luther Burden's great with the ball in his hands. I think Ben Johnson can find creative ways to get the ball into his hands. I think Caleb Williams can show improvement. You know, it was just a year ago he's the number one overall pick. And I think you know, his talent was kind of hidden with that poor offensive line and poor coaching, where I think this year he can definitely show a lot of what he was supposed to be last year. That wouldn't really surprise me. So let's see, is anyone doing anything interesting? This person was I kind of noticed this earlier. So they started out 4 running backs, or well, 4 out of their first 5 picks were running backs. So Saquon, Kyron, Joe Mixon, Chuba Hubbard, Matthew Golden, Cooper Kupp, Tyreek Hill, Bo Nix, Evan Ingram. Wow, so through 9 rounds, they have 3 wide receivers. They have Tyreek Hill, Matthew Golden, Cooper Kupp, a rookie, and 2 olds. I mean, it is an interesting start, especially if they don't put any more volume at running back. You know, maybe they stop at 4, maybe 17th, 18th round, they tack on a contingent guy. Um, it is an interesting start, but it does really put you in a spot where the board can kind of punish you when you do that, because if people go taking a bunch of wide receivers in front of you, oh, Jared Goff, Jared Goff goes right in front of me. Sam Laporta drafter, fair enough. Okay, so I'm thinking I'm gonna grab Keon Coleman here. Actually, I grab Rashid to. Oh, actually, Kyle Williams. Okay, cool. Kyle Williams. Um, so Drake May's already gone. So Kyle Williams, I think he's okay. I think maybe he's a little bit overpriced. He went with my Jets week 17, which is kind of why I picked him. But you know, I mean, I think young guy. He's a young guy, rookie, in like an offense that I do think will improve a lot with the Patriots. Um, I could definitely see him having a big improvement this year. I kind of got to figure out what I'm going to do at quarterback. I guess I could target JJ McCarthy. I might actually grab JJ McCarthy right now just because I'm kind of out of stacks and I don't really want to risk it. Yeah, because especially with Drake May going so soon, like Drake May, his ADP, he must have went right before me. He went at 111, so he went like a round ahead of ADP. I mean, technically, he should have went like ADP right here. So to see him go so early, and to see these quarterbacks kind of get ripped off, I wanted to reach a little bit to grab my stack with Justin Jefferson, and then especially since I've already done a lot to stack that game by picking Jameson Williams and David Montgomery for that Detroit versus Minnesota Week 17 game. Um, I really wanted to do more to kind of, or not do more, but I wanted to fully build out that stack, so I actually had that full stack for that game. And then I have the Kyle Williams with Justin Fields for that Week 17 game as well. But like I was saying with Kyle Williams, and I'll go on to JJ McCarthy in a second, I think he's a guy who's maybe a little overpriced, but not too bad. I think it's close to fair price. It's just a little bit risky with the Patriots because you don't know how improved the offense will be as a whole, and you don't really know who's going to be the lead receiver on the team. You know, you got Diggs. He is coming off the injury, though, and he's older. You have the holdovers from last year, even though they didn't look great. You know, they're still going to be on the team, on the depth chart with Demario Douglas, Kayshon Boutte. Maybe one of the rookies from last year's steps up some this summer, you know, Jalen Polk and Javon Baker. And then obviously you got Hunter Henry at tight end. So I think Kyle Williams, he's a little bit of a risky pick, but I do think I have a lot of capital at wide receiver already, so I can kind of afford to take a riskier guy like that. And, you know, with the idea of picking him more for that later season, like the Jets-Patriots stack, is if I were to make it there, then that would be when he's hitting the hardest, is near the end of the season is when he should come on the most, you know, especially with them having an older, more established wide receiver with Diggs, who might come on more at the end of the season, like, or who might kind of fade as the season comes to an end. Then I could see Kyle Williams maybe taking more of a role as the season goes. Okay, so I'm about to be up here. I'll talk about JJ McCarthy a little bit too. I really do like Tucker Kraft's price, but I want to grab a running back first. So I'm gonna grab a kind of an upside guy in Ray Davis. Yeah, I think that's a good play there to take Ray Davis. If Tucker Kraft comes back, I'll probably pick him. I didn't really want to pick a tight end again this soon. Okay, he gets taken. That's fine. Okay, so here I'm probably looking at either another running back. I like Eckler. Well, I probably want more upside, so I'll take Algier. Yeah, I like that a little bit better than Eckler. I'll explain that in a second. So, so JJ McCarthy, I'm not a huge fan of JJ McCarthy, but he's a guy we haven't seen play in the NFL before, and even though maybe he didn't show all of his potential in college, it's just kind of mystery box. We don't really know what we're gonna get, right? And he is on a great offense with, in my opinion, one of the best offensive play callers in the entire NFL with Kevin O'Connell. So it wouldn't be very surprising if he has like a really good season. And just with all his weapons and stuff. I mean, look what Sam Darnold did. He was a top 10 QB, and through his career he hasn't really shown much potential, but he hit majorly in that offense. I think JJ McCarthy could be the same, and he has some rushing upside. I mean, same thing, yet to be seen in the NFL, obviously, but he has rushing upside. He's shown in college, and he plays in a great offense with a lot of great weapons, great play caller. So I think he could have upside, and obviously I have Jefferson. So, the stack with Jefferson was kind of the main intention, but I think McCarthy has some upside, even if he's not my favorite click on the board. Just one second. All right, so back to Ray Davis and Tyler Algier. So with Ray Davis and Tyler Algier, I think they both are good contingent bets in the sense of Ray Davis, he could mix in some, and so could Tyler Algier. They could both mix in some in their offenses, and I think for either of them, if the lead back goes down, being James Cook or Bijan, then I think they could take over a very significant role in that offense. Maybe even be like, I think in Algier's case, he'd be the full-on like bell cow back. Ray Davis might still split time, but I think he would be the primary running back in that offense. So they're kind of more contingent bets. I think with Montgomery and Taylor, those are guys who should consistently get me points week in, week out, as long as they're healthy. So I feel really good with those two at the top, and then just some more contingent guys down here. I was looking at Rashad White, but I don't really feel like I need a guy who's giving me like some of those floor level points as much. I kind of want more like upside swings. Okay, so at this pick, where's Mason Taylor? So I'll probably look at Mason Taylor on my next pick. I could actually grab Hunter Henry. I actually don't hate that. And then kind of get a little bit more of that Patriots correlation with my Jets. And then I'll probably actually grab Mason Taylor. It's a little bit of a debate whether you grab 3 tight ends or 2 tight ends, because to me, these guys are a little bit lower end. That could stop with Trey McBride and Hunter Henry. I do think that could make me a little bit too volatile at the position, so I actually do prefer to grab... I don't mind Cam Ward, but I don't really have anything to go with Cam Ward at all. So I'll grab Mason Taylor here. Yeah, that's fine. So I think with Trey McBride, I could have just stopped with Hunter Henry and then maybe grab like receiver running back here or something like that. But I do like having someone to correlate with Justin Fields, especially with it being a tight end where like him just catching a touchdown can hit your lineup at the tight end spot. Even though I do have an elite guy, like tight ends are probably one of the more inconsistent positions overall. So I don't hate grabbing a third one, especially when it's all correlated and getting that kind of buying in more to that game stack and the team stack with my quarterback. So that's kind of why I went with 3. I could see stopping at 2 though. And then with both those guys, Mason Taylor, it's kind of hard to say. It's just that there's not really much competition on that team for targets, being like Garrett Wilson. And I guess Breece Hall, he's a good receiving back, but, he is a running back. So I think Mason Taylor, the door's open for him to get a good amount of volume, even with a running quarterback, kind of maybe more of a run-heavy offense. I think there's a good opportunity for him to get good volume in that offense. And then Hunter Henry, I think he's one of the more established pass catchers on the Patriots, and I'm hoping that they're an ascending offense this year. I think they will be with Drake May, improvements to the offensive line, improvements getting Trevion Henderson, Kyle Williams, offensive skill players. I think the offense as a whole will improve, and he's the lead tight end, even if that's not an amazing role. I think he definitely has a chance to hit your lineups multiple times throughout the year and maybe have some multi-touchdown games or at least a couple touchdowns throughout the year. Um, so I think that was an okay double tap at tight end. It's debatable if it's too much capital at tight end. I think with the correlation aspect, it's fine. I think if it was not correlated, I probably wouldn't have done it. So, a little bit debatable, but they are pretty late. I'm not really spending much capital at this point on these guys. These are all kind of like some people would say, like $1 auction bid level players. So I don't hate it. Okay, so at this pick coming up, probably gonna look at running back primarily. I'll probably wait a little bit, or I'll wait till the next pick on a receiver. So I got 3 picks left. So let's see. So Devin Neal has a little bit of correlation as a contingent bet. I actually like Will Shipley. I'll probably grab Will Shipley here. Just because on the Eagles, that's really the only backup to Saquon. I mean, if Saquon were to get injured or, Saquon goes down, it's like Will Shipley is in arguably one of the best handcuff spots in the NFL. And it's like, obviously, he didn't really show much last year, but Saquon Barkley was running rampant. So, no backup would have shown too much. So I just think if Saquon were to go down, Will Shipley's in an amazing spot on the Eagles to really have a great season. Let me look at QB real quick. Because I would like another QB on here, but I just don't really feel confident enough to grab any of these guys. I don't have enough correlation with any of them, anything like that. Could grab Slayton as a little bit of an upside click. He does correlate a little bit with Minnesota, week 16. I could grab Isaac Tesla. I do have 2 Detroit pieces already. So, yeah, I grabbed Slayton there. I'm okay with that click. Let me go back to the board. So, yeah, Shipley, though. I just think the offense that he's on and their offensive line, just they're like, just the team environment as a whole. If the starter were to go down and you're getting a contingent guy, it's like, do you want Will Shipley or these guys all want to be for him? You can get the Chiefs maybe backup, maybe 3rd string, maybe 4th string, hard to even say, but he has some upside. Marshawn Lloyd, who I like, but realistically, would you rather have the Packers backup or the Eagles backup? The Bears backup, the Carolina Panthers backup, the Browns backup or 3rd stringer. Like, all these guys are going before the Eagles' presumed main backup. They do have A.J. Dillon, but, I mean, A.J. Dillon hasn't done really anything in a couple of years now. So I think Will Shipley is actually a little bit underpriced. I think maybe he should go, like, kind of in between where Sampson and Braylon go. I think I don't know, I think he has more upside than a lot of these guys if the starter were to go down. I mean, maybe like a guy like Roshan has a little bit more chance to just mix in without the starter going down, I guess is kind of the case. But I don't really feel like that's the case with like Marshawn Lloyd, Rico Dowdle, Dylan Sampson. I mean, they can mix in some, but I don't know if it's going to be enough to mix into your actual lineup. Like, sure, if they get 6-7 touches, maybe 1 week they break off a big touchdown or something, but I don't know how frequently they're going to actually hit your lineup. I think Will Shipley, like, he's not really going to mix in hardly at all, but if the starter does go down, he's in one of the best positions in the league. And then Slayton. Slayton's just a guy, I think he can give you some spike weeks. He's a big play wide receiver. Maybe not the best team or whatever, but I think he's a guy that, at least if he does have a big game, he'll hit your lineup. It's not like a short area possession guy like a Wandale. Like, I wouldn't really put Wandale on a team like this where I have good capital at wide receiver. Wandale would be more a good pick if I were to like more punt receiver, I think. Just because he's a kind of target hog guy who doesn't really have many spike weeks, but he'll get a lot of targets. He's like consistent floor guy. So I think he's good in like different builds, but not really in this build for me. So I think for the last pick, I mean, I could grab a guy like Jackson Dart with. I could grab Jackson Dart actually. That actually wouldn't be. F. Slayton, I guess. That's not too bad actually. I mean, I feel pretty good at running back. Running back's maybe a little light. Wide receiver, I feel pretty good with overall actually. Tight end, great. Uh, so I could either have a quarterback or a running back. I don't really like any of these running backs. I'm actually gonna grab Jackson Dart here. Uh, I feel I feel pretty good with that with Jackson Dart actually. I like that pick right there. Um, so we'll wait for it to finish up and then I'll go over my team quick. But I feel pretty good with the team overall how it came out. 3-5-7-3. Kind of the classic build. Um, I think that's the most common build overall, or at least it was like last year. I think 3-5-7-3 is the most common. All right, so let me refresh it and then I'll go over it real quick. All right, so I have a 3-5-7-3, like I said. So I got Justin Fields, JJ McCarthy, and Jackson Dart at QB. I feel pretty good with that QB room overall. Like, sorry. I feel pretty good with that QB room. I think, it's a lot of upside. It maybe does carry a little bit more risk because none of those guys are fully like established yet. I mean, Fields has been in the league for a couple of years, but he's also had some issues as a starter. So I think it does carry some risk, and obviously Jackson Dart, he's probably not starting week 1, but hopefully he's starting by second half of the season. I do think the two guys, Fields and McCarthy, they give rushing upside, so I do think that gives them a decent floor week to week. They're just not as proven as passers or starting quarterbacks in general. And then obviously Dart, full on rookie. Russell Wilson's probably starting the year. He's kind of more hopeful that he'll take over, but obviously got him with nearly the last pick in the whole draft. So, when you're picking him there, you can't really hope for too much more than that. So then at running back, I got Jonathan Taylor, David Montgomery, Ray Davis, Tyler Algier, Will Shipley. So I feel okay with that running back room, especially with the two guys at the top. I think they're consistent week to week. They'll give me a consistent floor and some ceiling, especially Taylor will give me ceiling. Montgomery can give me ceiling, but I probably need more like a multi-touchdown game or at least a touchdown to get like a kind of a spike week. If he gets multi-touchdown, obviously he can give me a bigger spike week. I think that's very viable in Detroit's offense too. Ray Davis, I like him because I think James Cook, obviously he's a little bit smaller back, but he also doesn't play a full snap share. Like I believe he was around 40 to 50% snaps last year, James Cook that is. So Ray Davis will mix in week to week, even if he's not getting a ton of touches. And, he plays in a very high-powered offense in Buffalo. So I think he could give me some usable weeks just throughout the year. And obviously if anything happens to James Cook might hold out. I think Ray Davis could give me a lot of value like throughout the year in that case. Algier, kind of similar case to Ray Davis. Obviously he plays on a lesser offense with Atlanta, but they should be a pretty good offense overall. I think Algier gets some touches, just throughout the year. It might be kind of hard for him to give you usable weeks without Bijan getting hurt. But if he falls in the end zone, he might give you a usable week or two even with Bijan playing. And if Bijan goes down, I think he's unquestioned bell cow in that backfield. Will Shipley, I think, like I was kind of explaining it at near the end of the draft, but I think he just is in one of the best spots for a contingent backup where he is fully contingent. He's not really going to give you a usable week without Saquon getting injured. But if that were to happen, Will Shipley's in a great environment to give you a lot of points just with that whole Eagle setup, high-powered offense, great offensive line, great rushing scheme. So with the running back room overall, I feel like it's maybe a little bit on the lighter side, but I don't really hate it. I'm pretty okay with building running back rooms like this. At least I feel like I have my two guys that are very consistent. And that wide receiver, I feel pretty good at wide receivers. So I got Justin Jefferson. Obviously, like his only real risk is just a new quarterback coming in with JJ McCarthy, but he's one of the best receivers in the NFL. He's consistent. He's going to get his targets, get his yards, get his touchdowns. Like, maybe the only concern is just that the offense as a whole takes a small step back, but a guy like Jefferson, Chase, Lamb, I'm not really worried about any of them. In any scenario, really. Maybe if their starting quarterback gets injured or something, but even then, they'll still be pretty good, probably. Metcalf, I think the offense as a whole is a little concerning, especially if they don't get Rodgers. They could be a lower scoring offense, but he should be the clear target dominant player in that team. So he should get a good amount of targets, maybe get some scoring opportunity just based on volume. I wouldn't be surprised to see him get the highest target share of his career. It's like far and away the least competition he's ever faced in his career. And then I have Jameson Williams. Jameson Williams, he's maybe a little bit lower on the volume, but I think just with that offense, it's like super high powered, super high touchdown opportunity. I could definitely see him, just having a big touchdown year, giving you giant spike weeks in general. And he correlates with my Minnesota bet for week 17 and plays in their division, obviously. So I think he's a pretty good pick where he goes overall, but I think with the correlation aspect in mind, I think he fit this team really well. Jerry Jeudy, I think he's kind of similar scenario. DK Metcalf, should be the clear lead target on that team, but the quarterback situation is questionable. Offense as a whole for both of them might be a little bit more run heavy. But I think just the targets for both of them should carry them through to be pretty good wide receivers. I actually think Judy's probably a little undervalued just because of the quarterback uncertainty. Luther Burden, kind of similar case to Jameson Williams. Obviously, Luther Burden's a rookie. We haven't seen him play yet, but he give you big upside, good scheme, all that. Kyle Williams. I think Kyle Williams, you hope that the Patriots offense is ascending. A little bit risky, but he's my wide receiver 6 on this team, so you just kind of hope he takes over a little bit more later in the year. Ascending quarterback, ascending offense as a whole. Darius Slayton, he's just kind of a little bit of a spike week guy. Actually, I wasn't thinking of it at the time, but that kind of opened up the Jackson Dart click for me. So that actually kind of worked out good because I didn't feel great with the 2 QB room, so I wanted to add on a third guy. So Darius Slayton actually worked out pretty good as a pick. And I think he just gives you some spike week upside. Even if the offense isn't great overall, he's kind of a big play guy. So he gives you some upside and stuff. And then at tight end, I think tight end I'm great at. Like Trey McBride, Hunter Henry, Mason Taylor. Trey McBride, obviously, like elite tight end, top tier guy. Just needs the touchdowns to go better for him. Hunter Henry, Mason Taylor. Hunter Henry, I think he's a decent click. I think he's decent value where he goes to even. Hopefully if the offense improves, then he ends up being a real good value. But with and then Mason Taylor, I kind of just got him more for the stack with Justin Fields. But I think, tough to say. He's a second round pick, but he doesn't really have target competition. So he could get a good amount of targets even as a rookie tight end, just based on the lack of competition. Even if they are a more run heavy team, like he might get a good amount of targets just off rip from just having low competition in general. Overall, so that's the team though. So just one more time real quick. I got Justin Fields, JJ McCarthy, Jackson Dart at QB, Jonathan Taylor, Dave Montgomery, Ray Davis, Tyler Algier, Will Shipley at running back. At receiver, I got Justin Jefferson, DK Metcalf, Jameson Williams, Jerry Jeudy, Luther Burden, Kyle Williams, Darius Slayton. And at tight end, I got Trey McBride, Hunter Henry, Mason Taylor. So pretty good team overall, I think. A little bit light at running back. Feel pretty good with wide receivers. Great with tight ends. Quarterbacks I'm okay with. I like it overall, though. Decent correlation and stuff between all the players. Also, just for the Week 17 stuff, too. I did have Jerry Jeudy and DK Metcalf. They correlate Week 17. I just don't have the quarterback, so it's not, lighting up. But they do have some correlation Week 17. I think that's pretty much it. I mean, obviously, my Hunter Henry, Mason Taylor, Kyle Williams went with Mason Taylor and Fields. Slayton actually goes with my Minnesota, and then so does Dart. Jameson and Dave Montgomery go with my Minnesota. So that kind of all, some of that was a little bit of tiebreakers for guys. I got good like correlation in the playoff weeks. I don't really lean into that too much. I do like to get at least one like week 17 bring back for at least one of my quarterbacks, and if I can get more, then that's good. But yeah, I feel pretty good with the team overall. I like it overall. So I think I'm gonna rip probably just some puppies now. Probably hop in some puppies. I'll be give me just 1 second. I'll be right back. All right, I'm back, guys. All right, so I'm gonna rip puppy quick. I might even just honestly, I'll probably just multi-table it. I'll just do two of them. Okay, or maybe I'll do a puppy and a schnauzer. So, schnauzer already filled. That works out. Okay, so I'm gonna do a puppy and a schnauzer. I don't know. Just kind of give me a little bit more to do. All right, let's see. All right, so I got the 5th overall pick in this one, and then the puppy I got pick 12. All right. I actually don't mind the back half of the board right now, just because I don't know. I feel like you can get a pretty good duo. Either you get maybe like CMC with one of these receivers, or you get two of these receivers. Like, I feel pretty good with either of those combos, to be honest. And, if anyone falls like Amon-Ra, Neighbors, Genti, I mean, that feels great if you get any of them at the turn. So I don't know. I don't mind the 12 slot. I prefer being like top 6 pick, because I like to get one of either these 3 running backs, Saquon, Bijan, Gibbs, or Lamb, Jefferson, Chase. That's more ideal, but I don't really mind the end of the board either. Like, I don't like being picked like 7, because I feel like you kind of lose out on that top tier, where I feel like Puka is comparable to any of these 4 wide receivers, or especially these 3. Maybe Thomas is just a little bit below. But I feel like when you're 7, you kind of lose out on that top tier guys. All right, so we're about to be up. So I think I'll grab Gibbs. I really want to get some more Gibbs. So We'll grab Gibbs here. I could open another. Yeah, I'm only doing 2, so I'll just do it on 2 separate tabs. That way I can actually pull up the board and stuff. Let's see. Maybe not. Let's see if it loads. There we go. So that's the puppy. So we'll pull up the Schnauzer here. That way I can do the full drove like draft board and everything. Make it a little bit better to see probably. Okay, so now I'm 12 picks away. So this one I'm only 3 picks away. So, you know, I'm hoping. So basically, whatever combo these 4 guys, I'm not as in on Brian Thomas, but I'd probably pick him here. I would consider going like Bowers, pulling up AJB. I would actually go Genty McCaffrey if I got it. Then I kind of started a running back build. See how I do like with that, with starting running back heavy early. That would be kind of interesting maybe. But let's see who this guy takes. Genty. Okay, so I'll grab McCaffrey. And then let's see my McCaffrey combos. So do I have any of them with Thomas? 25% of my McCaffrey teams have Thomas. Bowers, I have some. What about Drake? No Drake London, McCaffrey. So I'll actually grab Drake London. Get kind of a unique combo for me. I think that'll be kind of an interesting combo. You know, I don't feel too much different about Drake London or Brian Thomas. Just with Brian Thomas getting the increased target competition. And then possibly not like the greatest QB play. I mean, Trevor Lawrence, he's not terrible or anything, but I just, it's hard to buy into Trevor Lawrence and the Jacksonville offense a little bit just because he has been disappointing. I think Brian Thomas is a great player though. Okay, so in this draft, Brock Bowers, yeah, smash for sure, easy pick. I love Brock Bowers this year. I think him and Trey McBride, clear separators at the tight end position. It is a little bit of a downside that I started running back, and then they have the same bye week, but it's whatever. They don't play the same position, so yeah, I think him and Trey McBride are a clear tier break, and I think that's a great value for Brock Bowers. I feel pretty good with that pick overall. I will have to try to focus on receiver now that I did take running back, tight end. So I'll have to put a little more focus on receiver now. I could be open to a running back like 4th round, I think. Probably not 3rd round. 3rd round, definitely not. I have to grab a receiver here. But I think that's good value for Brock Bowers. And I think, like I was saying, him and Trey McBride, they clearly separate at the position. I mean, Bowers as a rookie, like what he put up, 153 targets, 112 catches, almost 1,200 yards, 5 touchdowns. And for a tight end, that's crazy. And I think, improved offense as a whole, improved quarterback play, it should be all upside for Bowers. So I'd prefer to grab Rice here if I can. If not, I'll probably grab Terry McLaurin. It's kind of surprising to see both tight ends fall so much, but I guess that's just the room. Okay, so there goes Trey McBride. So I got Rashee Rice here. I love Rashee Rice this year. I feel like, just the pace he was on to start last year was elite. He was, right there with any of these guys. He was right there with them on points per game to start the year. Obviously, small sample size, but I think if he's healthy to start the year, he can just be absolute monster this year. And then Bowers and McBride, I just think their target volume, I think that separates them from the rest of the people at the position. So I'm about up in the other one. I'm up in 3 picks. So take a look real quick what's going on in this one. Ty McMillan, that's pretty early for Ty McMillan. But I guess, unique combo. Kind of interesting. So let's see what else is going on. Other than that, pretty normal. Garrett Wilson kind of early. And Marvin Harrison and Garrett Wilson both in the 2nd round. A little surprising. So in this one, I have McCaffrey, Drake London so far. So I'm probably looking at, I could get Josh Allen. I don't hate that. So Devontae's gone. So let's grab Josh Allen here. Yeah, let's grab Josh Allen. And then I think I usually would like Ted McMillan here. I do like Ted McMillan a lot, but since he's gone, I'm actually gonna go Mike Evans. Um, I think Mike Evans, he's a fine pick. Josh Allen, I think, is the top QB. I think him or Lamar Jackson. It's just an elite QB. They give you elite ceiling, elite floor. Um, Either one of them could easily be QB1 this year. It should be expected to be QB1 between the two of them. Maybe Jaden sneaks into there, but I think those two are clearly the top two QBs on the board as far as like before the season. Those are the two clear top two QBs. So I don't really think you can go wrong with them. That was around Josh Allen's ADP, like a pick or two after, but right around his ADP. I feel pretty good getting him there. And I got two receivers and a running back, so I kind of have like a solid overall squad right now, kind of balanced. So I like that overall. And Drake London opens up kind of a later quarterback with Michael Penix, so I don't have to spend so much capital to try to get another stack. I probably won't go for Baker because that'll be too much capital at quarterback. And then McCaffrey, I'm huge on this year. I think. Oh, I'm up in the. Oh, I got Ty McMillan. Great pick. I didn't realize I was up in the other draft. That's my bad. It doesn't show you how many picks away you are when you pull the board up. It just stays at the same number. It didn't tell me. That's kind of funny. But Ty McMillan, I mean, honestly, Ty McMillan would have been my pick, which is kind of funny. Give me a second. My overlay's going all wonky. Oh, there we go. No. Okay. Sorry about that. What is going on here? Sorry, might have to make the pick quick on my phone. Sorry about that. Okay, so this isn't that one. I have. Say. Yeah. Okay, there we go. I grabbed Zay Flowers. All right. Sorry, my little overlay tool is going all wonky on me. I'm not sure why. Let me Okay, I think I'm okay now. I think I took off the bye week, so it should be okay. Or I took off the correlation week, so it should be okay now. Oh wait, it's not updating. Damn. Sorry, I'm making the picks really quick on my phone so I don't miss them. Okay, hopefully that's okay. Just 1 second. Sorry. let me just, there we go. So then if I refresh it, it should just come up now. So window cap. All right, there we go. So I'm on the clock, and then I'll fix the screen a little bit, make it look a little bit better. So I'll grab Quinch on here. Okay, so I'll go to the draft quick. Okay, so I got Atlanta, Tampa Bay, Miami, 5-9-12. I got Christian McCaffrey, so I could get a little bit of a San Francisco thing going here. Grab Darnell Mooney probably. Oh, I already have Drake. I guess that's good to get the little double stack going. That's probably pretty good. Okay, and then there we go. All right. Sorry about that. Something just went all wonky with my connection and my overlay. I'm not sure exactly what that was. All right. That should be pretty good then. So I'm just going to try to draft off this screen. Just because maybe that was what was causing the issue, was trying to do it on like 2 different screens. So I'll show what my last couple picks were. So yeah, okay, that looks pretty good. Okay, so on this team, so I started with Gibbs, got Quinchon, got Rashee Rice, Ted McMillan, auto drafted, but I'm actually a big fan of Ted McMillan. I'm really happy with that pick. That was pretty lucky he fell to there. Zay Flowers I did pick. I grabbed that one on my phone. And then Chris Olave too. So Zay Flowers, like Ted McMillan, I think he's going to be the target hog on that team. I think Bryce Young can improve this year quite a bit. He showed some potential at the end of last year, so it wouldn't really shock me if he has, improvement this year as a whole. I think Ted McMillan, with his talent, his draft capital, he could put up a really good season on the Panthers. Zay Flowers, I feel like, he just plays on a really good offense. He has some touchdown upside coming from there, and I think he could get good touchdown equity. He's an explosive player. Okay, let me make my pick real quick. So I got I have Bowers, right? Let's grab Darnell Mooney here. That wouldn't be too bad. Grab Darnell Mooney there. I don't hate that pick. That's an alright pick. I think he has good upside too. Ascending offense. Michael Penix should be a pretty good passer. Chris Olave, I think he's just kind of undervalued. He's super talented, even if the offense as a whole isn't great. He should be the number 1 receiver on that offense. Rashid Shaheed was looking really good last year. Olave should be the main target getter. And then we'll look at this draft quick. So in this one, I have Ayuk and McCaffrey. So I'm actually going to grab Brock Purdy. Yeah, I'm going to grab Brock Purdy with my Josh Allen. Feel pretty good about that one. Okay, so then I'm going to stop at 2 QBs on this build, obviously. And then I think I'm going to take Jordan Mason is who I'm leaning to. Week 6 bye, that works out pretty good. So yeah, Brock Purdy, Jordan Mason. Brock Purdy I've stacked up with McCaffrey and with Brandon Ayuk. So I feel pretty good with that one. I did have the Atlanta double stack, but I do feel a lot better with Brock Purdy than Michael Penix, even though I think that was a decent spot to pick Brock Purdy. I didn't love a lot of the other players on the board. I maybe could have double tapped running back there. Okay, so here, so I have Brock Bowers. So I don't really want to grab another tight end here. Cam Scatterboo, I don't mind. I don't love his price, but I don't hate his price either. I think he's a fine pick where he goes. So we'll take Scatterboo. Yeah, got him. And then, that kind of just gives me a little bit more running back power. I do have Jahmyr Gibbs first round, obviously, but then I got Quinshawn a little bit later. And then I got Cam Scatterboo a little bit later. So I think those are two guys who kind of come on as the season goes. Maybe I think Quinshawn will take over his backfield real early on. I think day one, he's kind of the lead back. Scatterboo will probably split a lot with Tyrone Tracy. Hopefully he kind of takes that backfield over as the season goes on. But I feel pretty good with that running back start. I feel great with my wide receiver room. I think Rashee Rice, Tevin McMillan, Zay Flowers, Chris Olave, Darnell Mooney. I think that's a very solid wide receiver room, especially with having the elite tight end and running back in the first round. I feel great with that, considering my first 2 picks weren't receiver. And yeah, like I was saying, with my receiver room on this team, feel really good about the top 2 guys just being consistent, target hogs on their offense, main target on their offense. Zay Flowers, good. And Chris Olave should be the main target getter on New Orleans. Maybe, they're going to probably be a pretty bad offense. But out year last year, uptick this year, or even, even if he stays around the same production, he's a good pick. And maybe if he gets a little bit more touchdowns or something, he could be a really good pick. Okay, so back to the other one. So this one I definitely want Dalton Kincaid to go with Josh Allen. That's for sure. And then I probably could go Ramondre. I really am not a fan of this wide receiver range overall. Really not a fan unless, Hollywood Brown's okay here and there, but I don't love him as a pick. I might actually I'm just going to double tap tight end, I think, actually. Who's my other QB? Yeah, because Kittle. So I'm going to go David Njoku, and then I'm going to go Dalton Kincaid. And that gives me a pretty solid tight end room where I feel like I can stop at 2 if I want. Okay, back over this one real quick. So, Justin Fields this far past ADP, I'm taking for sure. Yeah, no doubt. I don't really need any of these other guys on the board. Yeah, Justin Fields, easy pick. That's quite a bit after his ADP too. That's a full round past. Let's actually look at the board in this one real quick. See how the other quarterbacks are going off. Jared Goff's still there. But yeah, to get Justin Fields after Dak, Brock Purdy, Caleb Williams are off the board, that's a great value on Justin Fields. I'm pretty happy with that one. I'm going to go back to my live drafts tab. So yeah, I feel really good with that pick. And then I feel pretty solid with my wide receiver room overall. Decent with the running back room. I want a little more capital there, but I obviously got Gibbs really holding it down as my, kind of hero running back, so to speak. But I think Quinshawn, he's a little undervalued in general. I think Scatterboo's probably fairly valued, but he has a chance to take over as the year goes on. He could be a really good pick by the end of the year. And then obviously Bowers, he's the number 1 tight end in the NFL right now. I'm going to grab Besh to go with Bowers, and then that should give me a good Las Vegas stack. And then I have the Giants as a bring back already with Cam Scat. So I feel pretty good with that one. Yeah. So I feel pretty good grabbing Jack Besh there. Go with Bowers, target Geno later, obviously. So now I'll probably focus a little bit more on running back with my next pick. Kind of depends how it falls to me. Let's see, we're at pick 125. Gino goes like 160 ish, I think. 167, so probably like 2 rounds I'll be looking at Gino. So next pick I'm probably looking at running back. Could grab a tight end maybe. But most likely running back. If either of these two guys gets to me, I'll probably take them. If not, I'll probably look at one of these three. We'll see if any of them make it. So this team. Oh yeah, so I double tapped tight ends last pick, so that makes me feel pretty good at tight end to where like I'll probably grab Michael Penix and stop at 2 tight ends, and that is a little bit heavy at quarterback capital overall. But I feel like with all the stacks that I have, it's actually not a terrible pick. Just having him double stacked, if he really goes off one week. Okay, so I'm going to grab Eckler, but I could grab Eckler. I feel pretty good with those running backs. I'm just going to grab Penix. Yeah, so I think overall with that move, it's a little bit heavier on QB capital than you should probably spend. Like, I won't disagree with that at all. But I think given my build, I'm pretty good at running back. I feel great at receiver. I feel good at tight end. I maybe could have went like Austin Eckler there. I just feel like he doesn't really provide a huge amount of upside to that team. So he's kind of more of a floor plan. I already had 2 consistent like workhorse type guys. This one I'm gonna take Jaden Blue, no doubt. And then I'll probably grab Gino a little early on this one next round, just to make sure, because I have him double stacked. On this one at running back, I feel like it's a little bit riskier with all the rookies, but I feel like Gibbs should really carry that. And then I also feel like Quinshawn, like he should just be the lead back pretty early on in the season, I would imagine, like based on draft capital and who was already there. Fields I feel pretty good with. Fields and Gino alone, I don't feel amazing about that. I could grab like Tyler Shook at the end. He has some upside. Oh, Bryce Young, I can with this pick. Yeah. And then that way I kind of Fields for my upside. And then the other 2 guys, they have upside too, but Fields gives me that big rushing upside. And then that way I have 2 stat guys, and then I kind of have my one like standalone guy, but he gives me that rushing upside. No, I'm actually going to take Bryce Young first. Yeah. Yeah, so I got Bryce Young with Tet, so I feel pretty good with that pick. And then next pick I'll take Gino if he's available to pair with my Jack Bash, Brock Bowers. And then I do have that game stack, kind of smaller, but with Cam Scattaboo. I probably won't get the Seattle game stack to go with my Carolina. That's fine. You don't always have to get a game stack every single time. It's not like critical. It's, it's better to get it if you can, but you shouldn't just pick a player you don't believe in or don't like just to force a back stack to a game stack. Like, it's not worthwhile to do. It's just poor. That's like poor roster management overall. So, like if you're like here, like I spent a little bit more on quarterback than maybe I should have, but I had a double stack with both primary Atlanta receivers, so I don't really hate doing that there. Okay, so here I'm really just looking at running back, receiver, mainly running back. I'll grab Dobbins, just kind of an upside swing in case he signs. So we'll grab Dobbins there. And then I like Marshawn Lloyd. I don't have any Jalen Wright. I could grab Jalen Wright. I don't have any of them. I was pretty big on him before the draft, but with them bringing someone in, it worries me a little. Jalen Wright didn't look great last year, but he's a guy. Like, A-Chain is a smaller running back. It's a very efficient rushing offense usually. Obviously last year they weren't super efficient, but they dealt with a lot of injuries, very poor offensive line play. They did some stuff in the offseason to improve their offensive line, so maybe it's a little bit better rushing offense as a whole. Maybe Jalen Wright shows a little bit more this year than he did last year. They did add Ollie Gordon, but Ollie Gordon was like a 6th-round pick, I think. So actually, I'll check that just to make sure I'm right. I think he's either a 6th or 5th. I think 6th-round pick. Let's see. Yeah, 6th-round pick in the NFL draft. So like, I feel like Jalen Wright, he could be the primary backup, and Devin Achane's smaller running back, dealt with some injuries before. It's not like a pick I'm crazy about, but I guess also too that gives me some, like, I have Mike Evans and I have Waddle, so that gives me some team correlation with Miami, and that gives me some Week 17 correlation with Evans. So that's kind of a nice little bonus, but I feel like Jalen Wright's just a guy with his offensive system and his team. He could have some upside, but I feel really good with my top 3 guys in general, where I can kind of take more contingent guys. Dobbins, I think he just has, where does he sign upside? It's like if he signs somewhere that's a good fit, it'll work out great. So Geno's there, so I'm definitely taking Geno. So I got Bryce Young with Tet. I got Geno with Jack Bash and Brock Bowers. And then I have Justin Fields not stacked, but, he's more of a rusher, so I feel okay with that. I could actually grab Mason Taylor on this team. And that would go pretty good with my Justin Fields, actually. So I feel pretty good with that. Let me see. What else is here? So definitely need another running back. So I could grab Rico Dowdle. Actually, if Tank Bigby's there, oh no, he just gets taken. Okay. Yeah, I didn't even really notice. He fell a lot. Wow, 169. What's his ADP? 151. He's been falling quite a bit lately. I don't think I've seen him get that far down, but I think people are just assuming he's going to kind of be the odd man out. But we don't really know that for sure. Let's grab Rico Dowdle here. He has the same bye week as Cam's got, but that's just one guy, so that's fine. Gives me a little bit more Carolina correlation in case they are a good offense. We expect Chuba to be the main lead back in that team, but so here we'll grab Jarquez Hunter. Yeah, we'll grab Jarquez Hunter, and then want a receiver. So we could grab Tutu. He goes with my Atlanta bet. I actually don't hate that. He goes with the Atlanta bet pretty good. I prefer maybe Isaac Tesla, but I think he's just also, a risk. You don't really know what you're getting. And then I'll go over both these teams at the end. Actually, I can go over this one real quick while the other one's finishing or while I'm waiting to get my pick. So I did a 3-6-7-2. And then on this team, I have Josh Allen, Brock Purdy, Michael Penix at QB. So a little bit heavy at QB capital, but I feel okay with it. I did get a good value on Michael Penix, pick 157. Running back, I got Christian McCaffrey, Kenneth Walker, Jordan Mason, J.K. Dobbins, Jalen Ray, Jarquez Hunter. So I feel pretty good with that RB room. Obviously, these bottom 3, there's a lot of you don't really know how their situation is going to turn out. And Dobbins, it really just depends where he signs, right? If he signs somewhere where he might get a role, he's a smash. If he signs to be a backup, then, not great. But, not the worst either. McCaffrey, you're hoping he's healthy in the first round. Kenneth Walker, I think, he has home run ability. He should be the main guy in that backfield. Should be a good season for him. Jordan Mason, you're kind of hoping he takes over Aaron Jones' role later in the year. He takes over as the lead back. He should be the goal line back even to start out in a very good offense. I feel pretty good with him. Drake London, Mike Evans, Jalen Waddle, Brandon Ayuk, Darnell Mooney, Josh Palmer, and Tutu Atwell at receiver. I feel really good with that receiver room overall. Close. So I'll open that up and look back at it in just a second. I'm going to make this pick quick, and then I'll look back at it. So if Mason Taylor's there, I'm picking him. Definitely. And he should be. Both these guys have 3 tight ends. That guy has 4 tight ends now. Okay, fair enough. So I guess I'm going super late for my last tight end. We'll get Jalen Coker, I think, to go with my... Yeah, we'll get Jalen Coker to go with Bryce Young. That works out. And I need to grab a tight end with my next pick, though. So the puppy is the one that just finished, I think. Yeah. Oh yeah, it's being all wonky with the 2 tabs. Okay. Close that. Okay, that's fine now. Whew. Okay, yeah. I'll just finish going over that real quick. So I was just about done with it. Okay, so at wide receiver, we had London, Evans, Waddle, Ayuk, Mooney, Palmer, Atwell. London and Mooney double stacked with with Michael Penix. We have Brandon Ayuk and McCaffrey stacked with Brock Purdy. And then we only got Palmer with Josh Allen. Oh, and Kincaid at tight end, though. So we got Josh Allen stacked up pretty good. And he rushes in a lot, too, so you don't need to stack him too heavily. Where Penix kind of more of a pocket passer, so I like having the double stack with him. But I feel really good with this wide receiver room overall. You know, I think Ayuk, obviously, he might take a little bit time to get going, and Waddle is maybe a little inconsistent. But I think Mike Evans and Drake London, they both give you super high target volume, super high consistency. Mooney gives you the big play threat. Palmer gives you the big play threat. Brandon Ayuk could take over his wide receiver room if he comes back healthy. Jalen Waddle could have a great year. Okay, so let me go back to that draft. Okay, so we need a tight end here. Sure, Chigo Conquo, come on down, right? Probably. Do I need... No, I already got... I mean... Okay, yeah. And then maybe we'll grab Jatavion in the last round if he's still there, I guess. Running backs, alright. A little bit low, but I can maybe throw a last guy on just for correlation purposes. Maybe I throw a running back on instead. Probably a running back, but we'll kind of see what's there when he comes back. Okay, so back to that team. So yeah, wide receiver, I feel pretty good overall with the wide receivers. Pretty good mix of upside guys, and I got my consistent target guys up top. They obviously have week-to-week upside, but they're going to get consistent targets. Tutu is kind of more for the game stack, but I think he could have some upside in that offense just as a big play threat. Njoku, Dalton, Kincaid, I feel pretty good with that tight end room. I feel like Njoku, he'll be one of the lead targets on Cleveland, even if they are a poor offense overall. Kincaid, you're kind of hoping he takes a step up, but he also is a stack with my Josh Allen on a great offense. So maybe he gets a little bit luckier with touchdowns. So I'll just read off the team one more time, then I'll go back to the other one. So I got Josh Allen, Brock Purdy, Michael Penix at QB, Christian McCaffrey, Kenneth Walker, Jordan Mason, J.K. Dobbins, Jalen Wright, Jarquez Hunter at RB. Wide receiver, I got Drake London, Mike Evans, Jalen Waddle, Brandon Ayuk, Darnell Mooney, Josh Palmer, and Tutu Atwell. And then at tight end, I got it David Njoku and Dalton Kincaid. Feel actually really good about this team overall. I really like this team overall, actually. Really happy with how it turned out. Even with spending a little bit more at QB, I don't really feel super weak anywhere. Maybe running back a little bit light, but not terrible at all. I feel really good with this team. Okay, so in this draft, so we got Fields, Bryce Young, Geno Smith, QB, decent running back room, maybe a little light, kind of a little risky with so many rookies on it is kind of the big thing. Wide receiver, I feel pretty good. Tight end, I feel okay. I don't really love having Chig as a 2. But with Brock Bowers, you don't really need to spend much at 2. And if Chig can hold on to that role, I mean, he could be decent this season, especially if Cam Ward maybe likes him as a target. I'm probably going to lean running back here, actually, though. So, let's see. We could grab Ollie Gordon, could grab Taj Brooks, could grab Brashard. Oh, no, Brashard Smith goes. I'm not going to get Raheem Mostert. Could grab Estime. I like Keaton Mitchell a lot, but Trevor Etienne. Oh, no, I have Dowdle. I can't get him. Yeah, that's probably about it. We grab Taj Brooks. He might, he has a chance to take over the backup role in that Cincinnati offense. I don't think they'd want to give Chase Brown, as much of a workload as he had last year. I think He's a decent 18th round pick. Probably wait to pick more of him until later in like camp season, see if he gets good reports or not. But I think for right now, he has a chance to take over that backup role and maybe mix in a little bit. And on a high powered offense that should score a lot. So I don't hate that pick overall. Let me see if it kicks me out or not. I'll go over the team quick. Um, okay, should be good. Okay, cool. So this team finished with a 3.672. So at quarterback, I got Justin Fields, Bryce Young, Geno Smith. I feel really good with that quarterback room. Didn't even spend too much capital on it in general, but Fields isn't stacked, but just he's more, rushing upside, stuff like that. Bryce Young and Geno Smith got them both stacked up, so I feel pretty good with that. I think I got them both double stacked, actually, right? Yeah, because I got Tet and Coker, and then I got Besh and Bowers, so feel really good with that quarterback room overall. Three guys who I think Fields has a lot of upside. I think they all have decent upside overall. And Geno Smith should give me a good floor. Fields should give me a good floor just with his rushing. So I feel pretty good with that QB room. So running back, we got Jahmyr Gibbs, Quinshon Judkins, Cam Scatteroo, Jadon Blue, Rico Dowdle, and Taj Brooks. I feel like, in this one, I kind of need Jahmyr Gibbs to carry it, especially early in the season, just because I have so many rookies and kind of backups. So I really need Jahmyr Gibbs to kind of be like the hero running back and carry this build. And, but he was my first round pick. I picked him 5th overall, so that's kind of what I'm expecting. So that is why I should go a little bit lesser capital with my other running backs. So then I got Quinshon, who, like I was saying, I think early in the season he should have a good role where he's consistently leading the backfield in touches and hopefully takes over even more as the season goes. Cam Scatteroo, I think he'll be on the field week 1, but I think he'll be splitting with Tyrone Tracy. And then, same thing. You just hope, with all these rookies, you just hope they take over more as the season goes. They get stronger as the season goes, right? They're super young. They're, new to the NFL. You kind of hope they get used to it a little bit. Game slows down a little bit as the season goes. They improve. Jadon Blue, I think he's like a big risk, I guess, but he has the chance to take over that backfield. They have Javonte Williams, they have Miles Sanders, but those guys aren't super talented NFL backs. They're not making a lot of money. Jadon Blue, he wasn't a super high pick, but at least he is explosive to the point where even if he's just mixing in, maybe week 1 he's barely playing, but even if a couple weeks in he's just mixing in, like he can hit home runs. He can get on your lineup with a couple touches. He's, super explosive, super fast, great receiving back. So, that's kind of his upside. Maybe he does take over a bigger role in that offense. There's really not a lot of talent in front of him. Rico Dowdle, he looked pretty good last year. I don't have super high hopes for Rico Dowdle. He correlated with my team because I have Carolina stuff, but he's a good contingent guy. He looked pretty good last year, actually. So, it should be an improved offense. I don't really hate the pick. I don't love the pick. He's fine where he goes. Taj Brooks, just hoping he takes over Zach Moss's role. He's the full backup. Maybe starts mixing in a little bit, a little later in the year. I don't think the Bengals want Chase Brown to have 90% of the carries again. So, if Taj Brooks can take over that RB2 role in that team, high-powered offense, maybe he gets a little work at the goal line or something, hits your lineup a couple times throughout the year. And then obviously if Chase Brown gets injured, then maybe takes over a good-sized role. Then I got wide receiver. I got Rashee Rice, Tet McMillan, Zay Flowers, Chris Olave, Darnell Mooney, Jack Bech, Jalen Coker. So Rice and McMillan feel like consistent target hogs. I feel like, McMillan's a rookie, so can't be 100% sure, but I think that's kind of his archetype, and based on where he was picked in the NFL draft, that he should fully take over as the number 1 wide receiver in that offense. I don't think it'll be close considering the talent around him. Rashee Rice, he was on a great pace to begin last year. His target volume was crazy, especially if you look at the end of the previous year, end of 2 years ago. Like, his target volume was crazy at that point too. So I think he's the clear number 1 in Kansas City. As long as he's healthy and he doesn't get suspended or anything, I think he's actually still a little undervalued. I really like Rashi Rice this year and Ted McMillan. I like them both a lot this year. Zay Flowers, I think good spike week guy, but he gets a good amount of targets in general too. So I think on that offense, high scoring offense, he could be pretty good. Chris Olave, I think he's pretty underrated from a talent perspective. Like, I think he's talented enough. You look last year, he went at the 2-3 turn in drafts. I think he's talented enough to go a lot higher. It's just the injuries and the poor offensive system around him, like as far as like the quarterback and stuff, like I think that's what's kind of hampering him. And it really is a lot leaning on Tyler Shook or whatever, but I just think where he goes, that's a risk worth taking. He should be the clear target dominant player in that offense. Even if Shaheed's back, and Shaheed's coming back from a major knee injury, he might not be ready week 1. And even if he is, I think Olave is still going to be the target hog in that offense. Mooney, he's a good big play guy. I like Mooney where he goes. I think he was, he had a really good year last year, and that was his first year in Atlanta, so I wouldn't be surprised to see him improve even more. Jack Besh, I think, he's a rookie second round pick. Not a ton of competition behind Jacoby Myers at receiver. Obviously, Bowers will be the main target on the team, but I think Jack Besh could clearly get that wide receiver 2 role without too much resistance. And in a Chip Kelly offense, super high paced, I think that could be a pretty good spot for him. Jalen Coker, he kind of came on at the end of last year. I think he could have a really good role in that Carolina offense, especially maybe down the stretch in the year when Thielen starts slowing down just because he's so old. And he starts slowing down, maybe Coker gets a bigger role as a wide receiver 2 in that offense. And that tight end Bowers and Chigo Okonkwo. I usually would if I stop at 2 to get a little bit better tight end than Chigo Okonkwo. Maybe someone that Zach Ertz, Pat Fryermuth range, somewhere around there, tight end 20 to 25 range. Hunter Henry, Mike Gesicki, something like that. But I think with Bowers, you feel okay just kind of having whoever with him, just because Bowers is the projected tight end 1. He's the guy I'd take at tight end 1 every single time, obviously. So I don't feel too bad having a weaker tight end behind him. Maybe Chigo Okonkwo, maybe the Titans are an improved offense. He kind of holds off the rookie they drafted and has a decent season. It wouldn't be too crazy. But overall, feel pretty good with the team. 3-6-7-2. Fields, Young, Smith, RB, Gibbs, Judkins, Scatabo, Blue, Dowdle, Brooks. Wide receiver Rice, McMillan, Flowers, Olave, Mooney, Besh, Coker. And then tight end Bowers, Okonkwo. Feels pretty good overall. All right, yeah. So I think that's gonna do it for me. Fun guy, draft a couple teams. Pretty happy with the teams overall. A little bit of mistake here and there, but pretty happy with it. I'm gonna be streaming a lot more all summer, so please check out the channel, subscribe, leave a comment if you have any suggestions, stuff I can improve, any thoughts, just anything, let me know. But yeah, I'll be back soon.